Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens...
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome to the War Room. It's Friday, June the 26th, the year of our Lord 2020, episode 252 here on America's Voice, on Newsmax, on G News and GTV, blown through the Chinese firewalls and subtitled in Mandarin, and with our local radio partners across the country, John Fredericks Radio Network and beyond. Over 10 million downloads on the podcast, and we're grateful for every single one of them. In fact, we're so grateful that Ryan Godusky has promised to throw out a quote from a philosopher for every single download that we get on this show, for those of you that don't get it.
Because for those who love about philosophy, if anything can drive people away, let's give quotes of philosopher, dead philosopher.
I just love watching Ryan, and Ryan is the co-author of the book They're Not Listening, How the Elites Created the Nationalist Populist Revolution. Ryan Godusky and Harlan Hill, the authors of an excellent book about the global revolt, MAGA, Brexit, the Gilets jaunes, and beyond. Ryan did this, what I think was an extraordinary television appearance last week.
Yeah.
Where I think you quoted more people than you said things yourself.
You know, I try to sit there and elevate the conversation. I mean, how many people know about Foucault? And I think that's important to know. So let's talk about Foucault and Camille Paglia and Roger Scruton. Like, let's bring the A game in, because they should know. I mean, I don't want... You know, there's too many people who sit there and their education on politics comes from talk radio and from cable news, and it should be.
Nothing wrong with talk radio.
I mean,
well, there's also, I would even throw it out, and I'm not naming any names. Also, what's up, everyone?
Jack Posobiec, you got to let me introduce you before you judge. See, this is the thing.
But I have a point. I have a good point. No,
One
America News. Just, we need more training for this guy. Okay, if you could send him on a course. Welcome to the program, Jack Posobiec, One American News.
Yo, what's up? So, no, it's how many self-help books are out there today that are really just rehashes of old philosophy or the Stoics, and you know, oh, you don't need someone to make you happy. You can be happy. It's like every of these lifestyle magazines, and they're just it's just half-baked stuff that they're stealing from, you know, Cypriot merchants.
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius.
Aurelius.
Meditations is better than anything you'll read, like in Cosmo.
And this is exactly, by the way, what people tune off for. All right, so let's get back to the news here on War Room. We don't do the intellectual circle jerks here on War Room. Although I was reading.
There's nothing intellectual about War Room.
I was. that's the strap line, by the way.
Gentlemen, there's no fighting in the War Room.
I was actually reading Gentle Regrets, Roger Scruton's book, this morning before coming here to the studio. So good pull there. We are dealing with a number of breaking news stories right now as well. Not least what appears to be another terror attack in the United Kingdom, Glasgow, up to 3 dead, and we're monitoring that situation as it goes forward. We've got Jack Posobiec in studio here, but I want to open with this, Jack. You were in the Chaz, right? And I think the Chaz is no more.
So the autonomous zone itself is no longer existing in terms of the tent city and the sort of platforms they had up throughout the 6-block radius. What they've done is they've condensed and collapsed their critical mass down to sort of a smaller, more hardcore section that is only located around that east precinct of the Seattle Police Department. So that had been the heart of the entire autonomous zone in the first place, the fact that Mayor Jenny Durkan had allowed these police officers, or should say, allowed the protesters to take over this area, to take over this police precinct, and had ordered essentially the police to abandon it. That was what created the essential conditions for the CHAZ, the autonomous zone, to exist. And so they are still occupying that area.
How big is that area? About a block?
So they're occupying the one block that contains the police precinct, and it's sort of the intersection where it is.
Is that residential homes too there?
It's apartments.
It's apartments, so there's people probably stuck inside.
Well, it was extraordinary footage that came out yesterday of one of the local black residents tearing down their CHAZ zone.
Yeah, absolutely biblical footage. I mean, this is a guy who has just been, and actually if you watch, there's actually a longer clip of it on YouTube that I found later. There's only a 2-minute clip on Twitter because of the length restrictions. And basically, he had been threatened right before that happened. Somebody pulls, it appears that it looks like somebody pulls a gun on him, somebody pulls a knife out, and that's what actually sets him off. And then he says, you know what, to heck with this. And he just starts overturning the tables in one of these. They had these co-ops where you could get free food, and the food's actually quite nice. And you know, a lot of like non-perishables.
Nothing says I'm a reporter like just grabbing free food wherever you go and saying.
Well, I was undercover, so you have to look the part.
I'd like to interject on that video. I hope everybody saw it yesterday, and it's what I have been talking about all week, and it's what everyone tells me to shut up, Jack. No one's doing anything. You know what? 300 guys. If 300 guys showed up down there like that, regular Americans, the normals, right? The majority of us. And started tossing stuff on the ground, you know? I mean, this is time for Jesus to go in and turn over the tables of the moneylenders here, people.
That just backfired in Philadelphia, though.
Go ahead.
So that just backfired in Philadelphia in a sense because keep in mind that those guys don't have control of their cities, right? And so the Philadelphia mayor just announced this morning that they're going to be taking down the Columbus statue. It's a crest statue of Christopher Columbus that stands in South Philadelphia. South Philadelphia has a large Italian population, right? This is something that's very important to them. And they actually have a whole list of reasons why the Italian culture in South Philly and Columbus is so important. They put it up. Well, the mayor said that the reason we're going to take it down doesn't have anything to do with the historical nature of Christopher Columbus or revisiting that. It's because of the violence that's being done by the vigilantes.
But that's just an excuse, isn't it? That's just,
no, it obviously is.
To quote Jack Maxey, that's just a chicken-chested excuse. Hold on, Jack. By the way, nobody's telling you to shut up. What I'm saying to you is you haven't reached that critical mass yet of people who are going out there. Now, in some places in the world, it has worked and it has happened. And ironically, it happened in the United Kingdom. It happened in Parliament Square. You saw the old veterans of the Grenadier Guards going and marching around the Cenotaph and the Churchill statue, and that put an end to it. Jack.
Well, perhaps it put an end to it, but what you have to remember is this is a heavily armed country. There are 400 million guns here. 89,000 were sold in the city of Minneapolis just this past month. If anybody does not think that there is a potentially extraordinarily volatile situation that is brewing on our hands, they are fools. And anybody who does not witness the mainstream media, the Democratic Party, these idiot mayors in these Democratic cities and these agitator terrorists, they're not paying attention because they are agitating towards open conflict. And I'm just going to tell you, people, they're not going to be any second-place trophies this time. There's no great moral cause to lean our muskets up again after it's over. Nobody gets to pat themselves on the back for ending slavery. This will be a killing field. It needs to stop right now. Study your history, study the way these Maoist revolutions go, understand their objectives. You can see this kind of horror as close as Mexico back in 1920.
Jack, can I push back on that one point? The problem is that more than half of the conservatives I've spoken to, their solution is, just let these cities burn. They're blue state hellholes. They're Democratic controlled. They deserve everything they get. I
don't think you're talking to the same conservatives that I am. You know why? Because people are not angry with the Democratic mayors for watching these cities burn. People are angry with our president for watching these cities burn.
I agree. But I'm saying is that there is a large percentage, yes, they wish Trump would sit there and just, crack skulls and restore order and everything you sit there and say. But a lot of them are saying, let New York City or Washington, D.C. or Minneapolis, these blue hellholes, burn and get everything they deserve. And it's enough of them.
Get one of these conservatives, because I'd like to tear him a new backside on this show, because I hear a lot about these conservatives, but I don't hear any of them come out with courage and state that this is their objective. Because if it's their objective, that man is my declared enemy.
Well, Donald Trump said that the other day when he said, "I want to let this simmer."
Right.
He's the president of the United States.
And he's been slammed by every quarter.
Are you going to tear him a new backside?
Hey, I'm tearing him a new backside every day. Mr. President, stand up. Lead as a president. You are the president. You are not a candidate. You are currently the president of these United States. You want to get on one of those statues on a horse? Start leading the army of your deplorables. We are ready.
Well, we tried, didn't we? What happened to MAGA night? What happened to MAGA night at the White House?
Oh yeah, that we all went and no, it
didn't happen.
Hey, guys.
Brent, so here's my question, Max. Here's my question. Go back to Philadelphia though, and I agree, of course, with Raheem's point. Of course, it's an excuse, right? If you're going to do fighting in Philadelphia, you'd have to cancel all the Eagles and Flyers games, because I've never been to one where there wasn't a fight. They actually have the court right at the Eagles Stadium. But what happens then when the mayor puts forward an order, and now you've got police out there saying, hey, the mayor put out a legal order to take down the statue, and now we have to protect the workers? Then are they going to be on the wrong side of the police at that point? Where's law and order then?
Let's get away from this, because we're just going around in circles right here. Let's talk about the future.
Yes.
It's more important how this stuff actually comes to a head. If you watch the show The Newsroom, right, the Aaron Sorkin show, where they originally lionized the Occupy Zuccotti Park protesters, and then several episodes down the line end up making fun of them, embarrassing them on air, is it not the case, like we said in the first hour, when these guys changed from marching down the street saying Black Lives Matter, they're now doing Trans Lives Matter? There were very few people outside in Lincoln Park yesterday around that statue that they had professed that they were going to tear down yesterday night. Doesn't it just run out of steam itself?
It does, but also, I mean, yes, things do run out of steam. People do go back to work, but they don't have the chance to go back to work in many cases. I think that's an important thing to realize. But, I do think that, as you point out about satirists, we need South Park back. We need people who can sit there and openly make fun of these things. I mean, we used to have a lot of them back, decades ago when it was okay to make fun of most things. But the few places that will sit there and make fun of them are kind of out of the loop right now.
Or the ones that were doing it effectively are now banned. Carpe Donctum. Carpe Donctum. The chief, the satirist in chief of the nation, banned from Twitter for parody and fair use, by the way, of all those clips. Parody of the protesters, parody of CNN, parody of the left. Banned now.
You guys are bringing up a great point. You look at this guy Jimmy Kimmel, right? He's had his whole life destroyed because he was a jackass running around in blackface, right?
Has he had his life destroyed?
Well, he kind of has, right?
Well, how do you mean? The guy's got 40 million in the bank.
Can I finish my statement without
You've had a lot of time on air, Jack.
I'm just going to state this very clearly. Why isn't Lorne Michaels, the guy who ran Saturday Night Live, who put him on TV in blackface, having his life ruined? Why aren't we canceling Saturday Night Live?
Isn't the answer obvious? Jack, it's such a rhetorical, ridiculous question. They protect themselves.
The answer to me is not obvious. If we want to have standards, let's hold everybody to the same standards. Let's call out the hypocrisy instead of just nodding our hands and go, Jack, that's the way it is. It doesn't have to be that
Jack,
way.
You lost control of the culture. Especially your generation lost control of the culture. So I'm just not going to sit here and take lessons in how you fight back against the liberal establishment.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Raheem.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when people start popping rounds off and they actually are putting them in people's chests?
That's happening now.
It's happening now.
Okay.
We talked about it yesterday on the show.
It's coming, and you
it's
better...
happening already.
It's happening. It's not coming.
Okay.
It's happening.
Look, I'm just going to say I didn't grow up in the effete urban environments that you guys did. I've actually killed and butchered animals. So have most of the central part of this country, and I am telling you, if you want to create 200 million Timothy McVeighs, you guys are jackasses. We are not the little people at Starbucks trying to figure out how to create a Molotov cocktail. That was crap we did behind the bar when we were 12.
So here's the question. Where are those people?
They're called the silent majority, and I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to meet up with them.
Well, listen, I want to meet up with them. I think we'd all like to see them. My question is, where are they? Now, there's a case to be made, is there not, and we'll get into this in the next segment, that actually, why would they come out and defend cities? You know, why would they come out to as you say, my urban effect neighborhood and protect me with my cravat?
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now. You take New York City and you march them into Appalachia, and we'll see who marches out. Okay.
Right. But what I'm saying is you have a clearly divided nation in the sense that the people who can save us don't care to.
Yeah, I'll just sit there and say this. If they sit there and take over the cities, they usually take over the political class, and it doesn't really matter what happens in Appalachia after that. And that's what they've been doing effectively in state after state. Upstate New York is very different than downstate New York, but they took over the political class, so it doesn't really matter what happens.
And you just answered your own question, by the way, Jack. Why does Jimmy Kimmel get away with it and all of his staff still get away with it? Because you'll defend your own territory, you won't defend the rest of the country. War Room Pandemic will be right back.
Everyone loves the benefits of compression socks, but they're just so hard to get on. Until now. Introducing the all-new Copperfit Energy Socks, redesigned for the first ever easy on, easy off fit to help reduce swelling, relieve tired, achy muscles, and provide energizing support. A new blend of stretch fabric for the most comfortable, easy on, easy off compression fit.
Being a SWAT commander, we train to win. The Copperfit Energy Socks, they didn't feel like other compression socks. They totally exceeded my expectations.
Our most powerful copper-infused fabric, woven into our easy on, easy off compression sock to help reduce swelling discomfort from prolonged sitting or standing.
I'm 38 and a half weeks pregnant. Copperfit Energy Socks worked beautifully.
Extra support around the arch and ankles for increased support and relief of muscle aches and pains.
I'm so excited about these socks. I'm so much more energized to go do things after a day of work. They just slip right on, yet they still have that same compression that you want.
A soft cushion footbed for all-day comfort.
I'm on my feet at least 9 to 10 hours a day. These were fantastic. A lot of compression socks are a little too thin, especially for what I do. With Copperfit, I could wear these every day.
Feel more energized. Feel more active. Just feel better.
They just hug your leg. It relieves all the pressure that you have. I have so much energy, I can go, hey, you want to dance?
The first ever easy on, easy off compression sock. The most comfortable compression sock you will ever wear. Get your Copperfit Energy Socks now online at GetEnergySocks.com for only $19.99 or call 1-800-978-1224. Order right now and we'll include a second pair of compression socks free.
I've never felt anything like it before.
No more pain, no more swelling, no more achy, tired feet.
I can never go back to regular compression socks again.
Don't settle for ordinary. Ask for the original by name, Copperfit Energy Socks.
Have you or a loved one taken Zantac or another heartburn medication and developed cancer? You may be entitled to compensation. The FDA just announced that it is requesting manufacturers withdraw from the market all prescription and over-the-counter ranitidine heartburn medications, commonly known by the brand name Zantac. This is the latest step in an ongoing investigation of a contaminant known as NDMA in ranitidine heartburn medications. NDMA is a chemical that the FDA and World Health Organization both classify as cancer-causing. Now, prior to this announcement, CVS and Walgreens pulled Zantac from their shelves, citing the link between Zantac, NDMA, and cancer. If you or a loved one have taken Zantac or another heartburn medication and developed cancer, how do you fight for the compensation you deserve? You choose the right legal team that has the experience, support staff, and resources to seek the most compensation for your injuries. Call for more information and a free case review.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
There's no fighting in the war room, ladies and gentlemen.
We fight so you don't have to.
Exactly. Somebody in the live chat said Jack and Raheem need to go and get a drink together. We actually did that yesterday. That's how this happened.
Yeah, that's how yesterday turned out.
$6 trillion already spent on the COVID-19 crisis. The national debt soared to $26 trillion. What impact do you think that's going to have on the value of the dollar? Who's paying for it all? If you don't think we're sitting on a house of cards, you're living with your head in the sand. Now, stocks have soared to some of the highest valuations ever. Do not wait for the bottom to fall out. Now is the time to protect your savings, including your IRA or 401k. Gold and silver are safe havens against uncertainty, and the company we trust with precious metals purchases, the sponsor of this show, Birch Gold Group. We're delighted to have Birch Gold Group as a new sponsor. Look back historically, when the bottom falls out of everything else, gold safeguards savings. So contact Birch Gold Group to request a free info kit on physical precious metals. See if diversifying into gold and silver makes sense for you. The comprehensive 20-page kit reveals how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can legally move your IRA or 401k out of risky stocks and bonds into a precious metals IRA. So get your no-cost, no-obligation kit. birchgold.com/Bannon. birchgold.com/Bannon. By the way, I love the way it says legally in there, as if I'm going to say, tell people how to do something illegally. Yeah. You can illegally.
Yeah, buy raw milk and.
Well, we are grateful for our sponsors, and we're very grateful for everybody that watches the show, everybody that chimes in, including the Jack Maxey fan club on the YouTube live chat, on the hashtag War and Pandemic, which you can use on Twitter and on Parler as well. A lot of people moving over to Parler now.
Yeah,
Ryan, are you on Parler?
I am on Parler, and I just want to know, when is Trump going to get on Parler? Because I think that would be the biggest, I guess, movement. That would have to, reporters would have to start talking about Parler.
They added, and they are already. I mean, it's been trending the last 2 days. Ted Cruz just went over yesterday. But here's the thing, and no hating on Parler at all. But they added, I think, 500,000 new users over the last 24 hours, or something like that. And you have seen a lot of server crashes in the last 24 hours. So maybe if President Trump, they need to ramp up the servers before President Trump. Maybe that's what he's waiting for.
By the way, the way that I think that we honestly could dismantle the Black Lives Matter movement is if Trump endorsed it. Because then the media inherently would hate it. If Trump really wanted to do it, he would sit there and endorse Antifa and Black Lives Matter.
15-dimensional chess, right?
It's like when when your parents start doing something, it becomes not cool anymore.
Jack, I want to. You text me last night with this thing. I want to get into it before. But wait.
I texted you a couple of things. Let's make sure.
Well, don't talk about the picture.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this isn't the picture.
No.
Right? Okay, never mind.
Jack, just introduce in the next couple of segments we're going to have on and why.
We're going to have on a distinguished Dr. Paulo Senato from the University of Sao Paulo. He's an amazing individual from Brazil, and he wrote a letter to JAMA. If you all remember, he was on the show about a month ago, and there was a study using hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine in these elderly patients in one of the states of Brazil in the Amazon, where they actually gave lethal dosages to these patients. And now, in Brazil, the authorities are actually beginning prosecution of these doctors for the M word, okay? And what is happening now is JAMA has still refused to pull this study. So we are going to have this amazing, great scientific genius and Brazilian patriot come on and tell us a little bit about what's going on. And I think that one of the things that's so important, here's a study that was so flawed that it doesn't take much to understand that they gave FDA, according to the FDA, lethal dosages of this medicine to these people and then declared it didn't work, right? This is how the politicization of science is going, and I'm really looking forward to hear Dr. Senato, and we're going to give him enough time to really explain himself.
Yeah, we want to dedicate as much time as possible in the next two segments for that, and Jack will lead the conversation. Just for those of you out there saying I'm not giving Jack enough time here, he's got the next two whole segments. We brought in Jack Posobiec and Ryan Godusky for a reason. Jack, the FBI, talk to us about this, because here's the thing: this show is not just about talking about what's happening and what might happen. It's also about getting into the detail and then getting into the action as a result of it. So what are we looking at in terms of this latest thing coming out of the FBI? And then I want you to get into TikTok as well.
Well, and I think they actually do kind of interrelate. So FBI Director Chris Wray, who still currently has a job, even though some people have been upset with him in the administration. We've heard, Ryan, I'm sure you've heard that as well. He came out yesterday and said that the FBI has over 2,000 active investigations that involve the regime, the state of China. And this is something that's on such a high level. And yet you notice that that wasn't the headline that came out of his interview yesterday that he did, his statements. The fact that China, and that was the whole point of the War Room Pandemic podcast, when we started it all the way back, I was one of the first guests that we had on January 25th, was to take a look at China, to understand what China was doing to the United States and to the world. Now that you have the FBI director coming out and essentially co-signing that and saying these aren't 2,000 investigations involving, involving Russia or involving South Africa or, take your pick of any country out there, Burundi, right, Belarus. This is the state of China. And so why do we not treat China as if it is the threat that it is? And I think that war room pandemic has been the forefront of that, the vanguard, to use the, since we're talking in neo-Marxist terms today. It's really been that's the vanguard of the proletariat against the People's Republic of China. And now you've got even the FBI director. And when I served in the intelligence community, we also saw again and again that the people that were hacking our servers, the people that were going after our classified Navy programs, our new vehicles in development, underwater unmanned vehicles, essentially the new replacement for submarines, the way that what the submarine community is going to, stealth technology, right? Their J-5 fighter, which is essentially it's a reverse engineered version of our F-22 and our F-35 program. All of these things that they're constantly, not to mention all of the information that we've seen lately, the investigations and indictments that have been coming out of professors across academia for lying about their participation in this 1,000 Talents program that in some cases goes back a full decade that they've been doing this. So China has been out there consistently running this at whole of society, not just whole of government. We like to use the phrase whole of government. They use whole of society approach to their espionage program. And I know I'm very upset about it as well. I'm actually
by the way, you got the cough and the touch after the cough.
I did. No, this is a serious show.
There's no dying in the war room.
This is the show about
a
crisis.
Can I ask you a question? So they're doing these investigations into Americans in working with the CCP. What is there any safeguards being brought in institutional levels? And I know if you don't know the answer, that's fine, but I'm just posing a question. Is there any safeguards being put in the institutional level at university level to sit there and forbid these people from working with the CCP, or any safeguards on the local on a microscopic level?
You've actually hit on the right answers, because what the FBI does, they're a law enforcement agency, right?
Right.
So they treat
only get
everything
involved once
as
it's
if
too
it's
late.
one particular case, right?
Yeah.
They're going after it like it's a criminal problem, whereas we know that it's not a criminal problem. This is an espionage program that's being run by the CCP. It's being run through their consulates. It's being run through the United Front Work Department. In many cases, it involves a lot of when you see Chinese overseas, you see the students, they sometimes have participation in these. And so they're not fighting it like it's a espionage program. They're just doing onesie-twosies and, okay, we're going to investigate this specific thing, get the indictment, and get out.
Right. But there should be a way that these universities then sit there, or a mandate by the fact that these universities cannot work with, I know I'm not using the right jargon, but there has to be a way for universities to filter out their staff and prevent these people anyone from taking part in these programs. So that way, before we get 10 years down the line where we have professors working with the CCP.
Right, and essentially the issue is that's got to come. And all of these universities we know are tied at the hip with the federal government. They receive so much federal funding from the DOE, and so this is something where you're going to need those safeguards in from a federal level to come out and say, look, if you want those Confucius institutes to go up, if you want everything else to go up, then we're going to turn off your money spigot when it comes to the federal government.
Maxie, if I don't get you in on this, we're going to have open rebellion in the comment section.
One of the important things that we have to remember about these 350,000 Chinese Communist Party surrogates called students is that they all pay full freight. So if you're wondering why your little junior who might have needed some financial aid to get into Harvard last year didn't, there's your answer.
Well, and this is the issue with the visa ban, of course, because the universities are fighting back. They're bucking against the visa ban. I covered this on One American News yesterday, because it's those student visas that are being hit, so they're going to lose the money from the overseas students.
Yeah, and that's why they want OPT to stay.
Right.
Where are we with TikTok?
TikTok. So if you go to boardpanda.com, it's a great tech blog that's out there. They've reverse engineered TikTok, and what's coming out of there, this is some dark stuff. Not only because of what they're doing on our phones, but because it's predominantly targeting our children, right? That's the tweens, the sort of the 12 to 15 range that's on there. They The engineers over there put out this huge blog post yesterday where they essentially said TikTok is nothing more than a data collection platform with a masquerading as a video sharing atmosphere. They said when you compare it to Facebook, Twitter, any of the other apps that you have on your phone, even Google, we've all talked about the data issues with Google. It is completely incomparable. They said it's like comparing a cup of water to the ocean in terms of that they get everything from you. They're tracking your GPS, they're tracking your communication, they're tracking who you communication with, they're tracking your when you sign up for Wi-Fi, when you connect. Everything is being filtered back, and we know, we've seen multiple times that this has been filtered back through the Chinese state.
Yeah, who owns it?
Who owns TikTok?
China.
Chinese company, CCP Link company, ByteDance, I believe it's called.
ByteDance is what it's called there, yeah.
Owns the Chinese version, the Western version as well. And remember, it's not just like there's this viral app like Vine or something that just came out and was word of mouth. I mean, it's heavily marketed at that audience, and it is sucking data, not just what you put on it. Not just videos, not just facial recognition, location data, all of it. If you have TikTok, if you have somebody in your household that has TikTok, it's time to get rid of it. We'll be back on War and Pandemic. Check Maxi will lead the conversation with the great doctor joining us from Brazil. Back in just a moment.
The hottest new razor is taking the men's grooming world by storm. And if you don't have it, you need it. MicroTouch Solo. The hyper-advanced full-body razor that trims, shapes, edges, and even shaves with micro-precision. And it's totally safe to the touch. Go solo for full-body control with one tool. No nicks, bumps, or ingrown hairs. Edge beards and goatees with one touch. Clean your neck, barber shop perfect. And check this out. Snap on the guide to tame growth and perfectly shape your full beard. And keep new growth stubble trimmed exactly to your style. And look, the Solo Full Body Groomer trims precisely the length of hair you want. Snap off the guide and remove unwanted hair anywhere in seconds. What makes Solo different than your ordinary razor? Dual-sided German stainless steel blade. Shave up or down at 200 microstrokes per second. The Ultra Flex pivoting head contours perfectly to you for precise results. 3 custom grooming guides for control of exact length and shape. And a built-in LED light so you never miss a spot. Solo is so precise, you need no creams, no soaps, and no water. Ditch the old man clippers and toss the scissors. You've got to go solo. Call 1-800-709-9777 or go online at microtouchsolo.com and get yours now for only $19.99. Complete with German stainless steel blade, pivoting head, built-in spotlight, and 3 custom grooming guides. Everything you see here for just $19.99. The all-new MicroTouch Solo Full Body Groomer. The one tool that does it all.
I see what's possible instead of what's here. Others see cracked concrete, broken backboards, run-down courts. I see a way to bring pride back to communities. Art can change it all. Bright colors, a bold vision, and it can be somewhere that brings people together for games or hangouts or whatever. A place that makes people proud, like this is my neighborhood. That's why I made Project Backboard and a site with GoDaddy. How will you make your mark? Make the world you want.
This is Kate.
Hey.
She takes 2 prescriptions. Kate's son Jack takes one too. Kate works hard and thought she had good insurance. But she still pays too much. That's no good. So Kate downloaded the GoodRx app. Now she can compare prescription prices to find the best discounts. She even beats her insurance price. Good for you, Kate. Good for you. GoodRx. Stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Well, 2020 has been a gut punch for American business, and if you're going to succeed, you need every possible advantage. NetSuite by Oracle is a sponsor of this show, the world's #1 cloud business system. Smart companies run on NetSuite because NetSuite gives you the visibility to control all your financials, your inventory, your HR, your e-commerce, everything you need, all in one place. So no matter what the scale of your business, NetSuite lets you manage every penny with precision and gives you the agility to compete with anyone from anywhere, running your whole company right from your phone. Join 20,000 companies who trust NetSuite to make it happen for them. They've surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of the top strategies that they're using as America reopens for business. 7 actions businesses need to take now. You can get that at netsuite.com/Bannon, and you can schedule a free product tour. netsuite.com/Bannon. And again, we're very grateful for our sponsors, and we're very grateful for our supporters, by the way. I was really pleased this morning. I mentioned on the show yesterday this great new aggregator, which I use far more than the old guard, like the Drudge Report. It's called Citizen Free Press. I know a lot of you people in the comments section as well saying that you've been using that for quite some time too. And I was really, really touched to see that Kane over at the Citizen Free Press linked to the War and Pandemic show from yesterday, where we mentioned his aggregator. So kindness begets kindness in the War Room here. Jack Maxey, over to you.
Dr. Senato, it's a great pleasure for us to have you on, and I know we kind of cut you short last time, but I'd really like to dig into this because we've been covering this politicization of the scientific literature, and you and I have talked about this at great length. And for our audience, I'll have the doctor explain it better, but there was a study in JAMA. We've spoken about this many times, the Journal of American Medical Association, and it was a study done down in one of the Brazilian states in the Amazon where, as the doctor will tell us, they actually gave lethal dosages of these chloroquine-based medicines to these patients, most of whom were elderly, most of whom were frail. And according to the best guidance that we have from FDA and other sources, these dosages were, some cases, twice the lethal dosage. And then the media around the world took this study and they used it to hammer both President Bolsonaro from Brazil and also our President Donald Trump, because both these men had simply spoken off the cuff about this drug, hydroxychloroquine, and how it might work. And what this Dr. Senato has done, he's tried to get JAMA to pull this thing, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how this went, because America, all of us, need to call JAMA and ask them why this study is still up. Dr. Senato, please tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's go into the study.
I'm a virologist here in São Paulo, working since for the last 20 years. I've been a professor at the University of São Paulo, and basically I worked with the first SARS virus in 2004 in Freiburg, Germany, making up diagnostic systems for the virus and so on. And what happened, basically, let's go to the case there of in Manaus, was a study that was done trying to see the advantages or whatever of chloroquine applied to people that are already hospitalized. We know for a fact that hospitalized patients do not benefit very much from aminoquinolones, from this type of antivirals or any other kind of antiviral, because later on the disease is completely different and the antivirals have no clear positive effect, not efficacious for to be used at that stage of the disease. But there is something that was done in Manaus that is a little bit beyond just giving drugs to people when they are hospitalized. What they've done there is that they cherry-picked patients, the ones that were in the, let's say, on more vulnerable state. They received a higher dose of chloroquine. And the problem was that the dose they gave to the patients was determined in 1988 to be basically lethal dose. And then they had to stop the clinical assay because a lot of people start dying. It was a disaster. And then they sent that publication to the MR.JUSTICE, which is like a public repository for publications that were not submitted to peer reviewing. And based on the data that was presented in MR.JUSTICE, the state attorney here, the federal state attorney of the state of Rio Grande do Sul in the south of Brazil, they sent a list of questions to the people that actually did the research. Were like 32 questions, because they realized that the thing was done in a very bad way. And basically, after that, this consortium, if you will, of scientists replied via a single attorney's office, and then the paper came out in JAMA. So I sent a little letter to the editor of JAMA, asking him to consider the fact that that publication was contained several misconducts and several problems, and that they should either consider retracting the paper or being aware that that could cause some problems to the American Medical Association. And I got basically a no reply, initially just a statement saying, oh, we received your letter. And later on, once the things start to become more notorious, if you will, I got a reply from the editor just stating that they saw the evidence and saw the paper and did not reply to any of the questions that were raised on my letter. So what happened after that was that there was a lawsuit that initiated in the Amazon to try to study this case. So now it's under a lawsuit going on, and it's very sad that, to my mind, that the editors in JAMA did not consider the fact that this study is really, really, really badly conceived, badly carried out, with very severe adverse conditions like deaths taking place during it. And the basic idea of this paper basically was to discredit chloroquine as a treatment for COVID-19.
Doctor, I also wanted to talk to you about, they said to JAMA, for example, that they had applied this paper to a peer review for, what do you call it, prior to the study, that the study itself was reviewed to make sure that it didn't have any flaws in it. And then they said that they had done that to JAMA, but they never did they? They never filed the proper documents with the Brazilian government or with the scientific authorities, did they?
Well, it's complicated because initially, when the version of the paper that came out in Mothership actually had a number of authorization. But upon checking this number against the site of the CONEP, which is the National Council for Ethics in Research, that we couldn't find the actual approval. There are no documents related to the number that was present on the Mothership publication. Later on, when the paper comes out in JAMA, there's no even reference at all to any number. So it's one of the things I asked the JAMA editorial board was to actually look at the fact that they actually had a paper published without clear evidence that it was approved by an ethics committee. And to be quite honest with you, this is a primary requirement for any publication in a serious journal.
And also, I mean, I believe they said to JAMA that they had gone through that process. So they lied to JAMA. This is the problem. This is what I want to explain to the American people. Okay, we had a study in which several people had died. And when Dr. Senato says there's a lawsuit, I don't want the American listeners to think that this is just people disputing whether or not your kid parked your car on my front lawn. When he says lawsuit, this is a criminal investigation because people's lives were lost. And under the Constitution of Brazil, everybody has a right to life. So for them to do this through science is no different than doing it through any other means. So this is very serious. And what I want our listeners to understand is this is the Journal of the American Medical Association. And they still have this study up there as if it is valid. And right now, the government of Brazil is investigating what? Potential murders here, right? Or negligent murders, perhaps.
Yes, that's precisely what's going on. And one of the problems here is that intent to commit murder doesn't reduce the fact that people died. So this has to be evaluated and investigated. They obviously is going to claim some sort of problem of one kind or another, but the fact is that the resolution 466 of the ethics norms that rule the way that people should do research with humans in Brazil, it's very clear as well. It's not only the crime in the sense of killing people, but also conducting research that was not properly designed. So everything.
I mean,
is wrong.
this is. I mean, what gets me about this, doctor, is we watched this in Lancet. At least Lancet had the integrity to withdraw their papers. Now, I want all our listeners, you can go look it up. I'll post it on my Twitter feed moments after the show ends. Everybody needs to contact JAMA and ask them why they still have a study on their website that actually helped kill people. This is a fact. So, doctor, if we could... We've got about 3 minutes left, and I want you to just sort of define for us, if you can, what's going on in Brazil before the break, and we can keep you on afterwards if you like. But tell us what's going on in Brazil, because Brazil has taken a lot of heat in the American press as the country in South America that didn't do what they were supposed to. But when you look at it statistically, they're really not too much worse off than their peers, and maybe seem to, in my mind, to be a little bit more open about the data, particularly when you compare it to what's going on in Mexico.
Well, in Brazil now we have the death per million in Brazil. It's way lower than many of the advanced nations, if you will, elsewhere. So the problem now in Brazil is that the disease is moving out of the big centers like São Paulo, the big capitals, and moving to the countryside, if you will. So we still have repercussions. But now the more serious problem we have is to allow the medical community to treat people early and to avoid people being hospitalized, because once people are hospitalized, they probably going to have like a Russian roulette. They can die. Lots of people die when they go to the hospital. So we know now that we can use early treatment with hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, azithromycin, and so on, and keep people out of the hospital beds. We are doing that in several places in Brazil, but there's an ongoing war trying to prevent that to take place.
One of the things I wanted to ask you real quick, the ivermectin, can you tell us about how that's being used? Because no one's really given us a clear idea on that drug.
We've got about 30 seconds here.
Well, ivermectin is very good because it prevents the cell to kill itself once it's infected. So basically there will be no expansion of virus. So it's a very good antiviral.
Great. Okay, doctor, we want to thank you so much. Listen, you are a real hero. I respect you as a scientist. I know that you had to put your neck out on the line to bring this to the fore. And we're going to try and bring you back because you have a lot of great insight into Brazil and something that the American people need to hear about, because Brazil is really our great ally to the South, and we need to stand together as two people. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Senato.
That's
thank you, Jack. That's a great interview. Lots of detail here, and we like the detail here on War and Pandemic. We'll come back. When we come back, we'll talk more about the pandemic, how gatherings all across the Western world are being blamed, are being prescribed fines for not wearing masks. But hey, you want to go protest? Fill your boots. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Pain, swelling, stiffness. When your hands hurt, you can't function. Until now. Introducing the new Copperfit compression gloves with sure grip technology to give you more power, more control, and more agility than ever. Our most advanced copper-infused compression fabric woven into an ultra-lightweight performance glove that fits like a second skin to support relief and recovery of sore muscles and painful joint stiffness. And new Sure Grip bands built in to provide a strong, non-slip grip for more power and control.
You need total control of your hands when you're doing anything with construction. Your hands are your livelihood. The Copperfit gloves are great. The grip is outstanding here with these different ribs. It makes my hand a lot more usable. It just feels like you're just ready to start the job.
The gloves have been a game changer for me. They help with flexibility and pain and soreness. They allow me to do my job even better.
Breathable wicking fabric with an open finger design for full range of motion, feel, and control.
They relieve my pain. When I grab something, I'm not in pain. that support or whatever magic these things do, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter to me what it is. It works.
I get a lot of pain, and it can make it difficult to do the smallest thing. While I'm wearing this, I do not have any pain. I can use it on the keyboard, I can use my phone, I drive with it, I sleep with it. I love this glove.
The new CopperFit compression gloves with sure grip technology. Relief from painful muscle and joint soreness. Guaranteed or your money back. Call 1-800-984-5571 or on the web at getcopperfitgloves.com for only $19.99. Order right now and your shipping is free.
I tried it, I use it, I know it works.
CopperFit gloves definitely just make my life better.
I've used CopperFit before. This has helped my hands so much. These things work.
Feel better with copper-infused compression. Ask for it by name. CopperFit compression gloves.
I'm Nick Bolton, and these days...
Hey there.
Hey there. It seems everybody has a pair of tactical sunglasses.
Good morning.
Morning. But what if you already wear glasses? Then you need these flip-up Tack glasses. These new glasses fit right over your existing eyewear to give you all the benefits of our Tack glasses while you comfortably wear your regular glasses. Plus, like all Tack glasses, flip-up Tack glasses feature Bell & Howell light filtering technology that makes invisible objects suddenly become visible. There's just nothing like them on the market today. Here you go, buddy.
Thanks, Nick.
Act now to get your flip-up Tack glasses for just $19.99, and we'll even ship them to you free. But wait, order today and you can get a second pair. Just pay a separate fee. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-284-4127 or go to flipupglasses.com. That's 1-800-284-4127 or order online at flipupglasses.com.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Remember, if you're going to succeed in this environment, you need every possible advantage. NetSuite by Oracle is a sponsor of this show, the world's #1 cloud business system. And you can get your free guide from them on how you can get out of this economic pit that we're currently in and everything that's going to result on the back of it. netsuite.com/Bannon. Grateful for the sponsors of this show to keep it going, to keep us bringing you the epic Steve Bannon, Jack Maxey, sometimes Raheem Kassam, Greg Mann's rants here on the show, and also to keep our guests in fine Evian water bottles. Ryan Godusky and Jack Posobiec join us today in studio. And we started the first hour of the show today talking about the stabbing attack in Glasgow, where a knife, all of its own volition, apparently has seemed to stab people. Or at least that's how the British media would have you think of it. We saw a Libyan asylum seeker stab 3 last week after a Black Lives Matter rally in Reading. We're now seeing something else again here. It's too early to say, the police have told the BBC, if this is terror-related. But it comes just 1 week after what was a terror attack in the United Kingdom and isn't getting much coverage, not just in the United Kingdom, but hasn't been getting much coverage around the world. I remember talking to somebody about this week, and they said, wait, there was a terrorist attack in the UK last week? And
well, it's part and parcel now, so it's part and parcel.
For the audience out there that doesn't realize what that means...
Well, it means your city, but it's the mayor of London said, these are the sorts of things that come part and parcel when you live in any big metropolitan city. You're going to have terrorist attacks from time to time, and it just happens. And this is City Con a couple of years ago.
Jack?
Well, yeah, I mean, we all know that, right? This is England. This is where it's happening. Do we want to be like them? We don't. They disarmed themselves 30 years ago. If they fall, there's nobody who's going to be able to fight back. Sharp sticks aren't going to work this time around. So America has to pay attention.
You know what the most interesting thing is? Terrorism in Europe usually pushes people towards more establishment parties and away from national populist parties. A lot of studies have shown, but terrorism
is that right? Why is that?
It's a social science. They'll move towards more establishment parties, but in other countries like in Colombia, in Brazil, and Chile, and through the developing world, terrorism pushes them more towards national populist leaders. It's in my book. They're not listening.
See, I'm a student of Poland, and we don't have a lot of evidence of that because there just isn't a lot of data on terrorist attacks in Poland for some reason.
But there was a ton of terrorism in Hungary, and that led to Viktor Orban becoming leader.
There is also the misconception, I think, that there are no privately owned guns in the United Kingdom. You can certainly have a shotgun shotgun, if you have land, if you're a farmer, if you can protect your livestock. Right. It's long guns. Yeah. And Jack, it actually makes me think of what you said in the first hour, is that, you only need the 15% of people who are able to fight back. So just to push back on a point you just made, actually, if we have, a few strong men and a few great patriots who are armed, there isn't. What I'm saying is, there's not no hope for the United Kingdom, right?
I'm not saying that there is no hope, but I have to say, as an American, I'm pretty much tired of backstopping Europe at this point. I think we got to start taking care of our own.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. I mean, you won't hear any arguments from me. I don't, in the same way that I never wanted, and it's all in the book by Ryan Godusky and Harlan Hill, They're Not Listening. I don't want the UK to be a protectorate of the United States. I didn't want the UK to be a protectorate of the European Union either. I think, the whole point of national sovereignty and the arguments behind that, we're done taking the British public, to be cliched about it, are a proud people, right? You hear that all the time, a proud people. But here's the thing. I mean, it is the mother country. It is the bastion of everything great Western civilization has known until the French ruined everything with their Enlightenment and the Revolution. Just saying. It's time, and you see it over and over again. The Grenadier Guards 2 weeks ago defending the Churchill statue. You saw the 20,000 people we marched down Whitehall when Tommy Robinson was arrested and falsely imprisoned for all those months. And by the way, had to be let out by the establishment afterwards, after we showed that it was a false imprisonment. So there's hope. There's hope everywhere. Jack, I want you to jump into this Bill Gates story really quickly that's up on the Daily Mail.
Yeah, Bill and Melinda Gates just spoke to a philanthropy group a few days ago, and they had some interesting things to say, and this is kind of what we want to talk about, these running dogs, right? Bill and Melinda Gates, they're able to say these kinds of things because they've got about $150 billion between them. They decry the president leaving the World Health Organization. They talk about how the World Health Organization has done such a great job and how the United States is looking inwardly. And then, of course, we're trying to stitch different countries' efforts together. We're trying to make everybody cooperate one with another. It's not helpful to point fingers. And then, of course, Melinda steps in and she says, one of the reasons we are so involved in this is that you don't want the first vaccines to go to the highest bidding countries. The silent word there is the United States of America. There are 60 million healthcare workers around the world. They deserve to get the vaccine first. They're the ones dealing with this on the front side, trying to keep ourselves. In the United States, it's going to be black people who really should get it first, and then indigenous people, as well as other people with underlying symptoms, and then elderly people. Well, thank you very much, Melinda. What is she then?
Elderly people?
Is this is a segregated way of doing vaccines now?
Well, this is the way the Gates people want to do it. I mean, when you have $200 billion, you're above nationality, you're above patriotism, you have a flag that has multicolors of every nation on it. This is part of the problem. They are not on our team. In their own words, they are showing you that their interest is globalist. It's not for you. It's to the whole world.
Yeah, part of the reason it's so high in among black Americans, two big reasons: diabetes, poor lifestyle habits, and the second is that they were in the public sector nursing homes that Cuomo sent all the sick people in, and they got killed. They died from that.
More than 50% of the victims nationwide were in elder care facilities.
I don't necessarily object to the health workers being first in line for this other thing, but if you
I don't mind
divide it on race grounds,
first, yeah.
What I object to,
I mean, I'm not going to be taking any of these vaccines, just FYI.
What I object to is the arrogance of these two multi-billionaires coming out here and sipping tea with their pinkies out, telling us what we're going to do because that's what they want.
There is nothing wrong with tea, and there is nothing wrong with sipping it with your pinky out. Final words. They're not listening. Where do people get it?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, everywhere books are sold. It's about national populism on the global scale. It's happening on all 6 continents that people live on, and it explains how and why.
I've got to tell you guys, this isn't opinion. You go through this, there are more citations in this than you could possibly imagine. This is real knowledge right here. Jack Posobiec, last word, where can people find more of you?
Yeah, check us out, OneAmericanNews, OANN.com. We're going to have a huge feature coming out next week all about Antifa and my time in the Chaz in Seattle.
Jack Maxey, Jack Posobiec, Ryan Godusky, Greg Manns. Thank you to everyone involved in the production of this show, all of our great guests. We'll see you guys back in the War Room Monday.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this. Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear CopperFit Advanced Back Pro. CopperFit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new